No, that's not where you're at. This is where you're at. You're in possession, you're in the location of unlimited potential.
What's up, CP family? Welcome to another episode of the Complete Performance Audio Experience, a podcast where we share live clips of sessions we do with our athletes. Have a listen, enjoy.
I'm going to turn those 3 steps into 3 containers, okay? Let's think of the first step as thoughts, the second step as emotions, and the third step as actions, okay? So thoughts, emotions, actions. Thoughts, emotions, actions. We want those 3 things aligned. If your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are all on the same page,
Moving in the same direction.
you're
Stagnation.
not in your own way. You're literally charging and you're able to express yourself authentically.
Let me just say one more thing about that too. If those aren't on the same page, that's equivalent to teeing up on the ball and just looking away right on ball strike.
Yeah.
Like that's how ineffective you are.
Yeah, like imagine if your body was out of alignment and then you try to hit something and you're like, that's impossible. Like your thoughts, emotions, and actions, they're the 3 main parts of like you as an individual on the court, or especially as an athlete.
What else are you doing? So yeah, let's dive into these 3 steps.
Okay, so let me explain these 3 steps in the sense of we're going from one place to another place. We're going from a place called not in our zone to a place called in our zone. All right. And so when we're not in our zone, the mind and body are disconnected because your body is here in the present as an anchor, always in the present, and your mind can go into the past and it can go into the future. So if you're not in your zone, you can recognize just by feeling I'm not in my zone right now. I don't feel good and aligned and on top of my game right now. You know that your mind is in the past or future. So that first step is about bringing the mind back. And so that's the level of, instead of thinking, we're going to bring our attention back to our body and we're going to put it into our senses. So as our attention goes out of thinking, what's going to happen next, what just happened, it's in our senses. What is happening now? And I'm perceiving it directly and continuously. So this is about putting attention into the senses. This is grounding you into your body. This is the first mental skill we teach. We call this confidence.
Yep.
So confidence is the act of bringing attention back to the body, out of thought, reestablishing the mind-body connection. Okay? Now, let's say you could do that and you could hold your attention in your senses and you could stay present. The next thing you're going to realize is you feel stuff based upon what's going on around you.
Yep.
So not only are you thinking about what's going on around you, but it's making you feel a certain way. And when we compete, things go for us and things go against us. And that's going to produce emotions within you. And no one's immune to this. The second skill of emotions, handling the arena of emotions, is composure. And composure doesn't mean you don't have negative emotion. Composure means you have the capacity to sit with them and not run into the past and into the future, not try to get away from them, not try to suppress them or project them. Okay? So thoughts, emotions, we bring the attention back. We learn to stay. And the third is actions. Can I stay present? Can I feel the action I'm taking now? Can I stay my attention with the present action I'm taking? So we bring the attention back. We settle the attention into the body by respecting how we feel. And then we connect our attention to the next action we're taking. And these 3 steps, they bring your thoughts, your emotions, your actions into the moment. So that's kind of a bare bones summary of those 3 steps. But really, those are like the 3 pillars of your zone. The mind is quiet, you're respecting how you feel, and you're engaging the next action. Not as a means to an end, not like, oh, I'm going to try to hit the ball over there. No, you're fully immersed and involved, fully participative. There's no hesitation and there's no holding back.
Yeah, let me just make these 3 steps super tangible. All right. Let's pretend that you're playing hide and seek and you're hiding and your friend is looking for you. They don't know where you're at, but they're really close to your hiding spot. and you got to be really quiet. Like you don't even want to breathe. You're just like, and you're really listening. All right, that's what we're talking about, shifting out of thought into your senses. You can actually do that on the court. That's step one. That's just one dimension of it. That's like one little tangible aspect of it. Putting more attention into your senses. That was a hearing example, but you can also do it visually and just see the court, like put all your attention in the court, the colors, the three-dimensional space in front of you, right? This is quieting the mind, alerting the body. That's the step one. That's step one. That's confidence. That's confidence. That's showing up to what's in front of you. All right. That attention is already coming back to the body with that first step. But that second step is feeling whatever you're feeling, whatever emotions come up, you feel it. You don't judge it or label it. You don't try to push it away or suppress it. Whether you're reactive or angry, nervous or anxious, or excited, or stable, or whatever, you're feeling it. Your attention is just permeating your body. It's called like body awareness. You athletes, you're already natural at this. You know what I'm saying? If I was talking to some kid that's like, you know, doesn't play sports or doesn't use their body to play a musical instrument or something like that, they might not know what I'm talking about. But you guys literally are playing a game with your body. So just put more emphasis on that body awareness, that attention in the body. And boom, that's step two. Step two is take those two things and fuse it with your action. You've heard the cliche, this ball, just this point exists. Love, love, 0, 0, whatever. Like, that's that third step of focus. That's fusing your mind and body are connected, and your attention is all fused with the present action you're taking, the step you're taking right now, the shot you're on, the ball you're on, the swing you're on, and you're getting more channeled into that. Those are 1, 2, 3 steps that I'm telling you, all it takes is a commitment to doing that above all else, and you'll find yourself in the zone.
100%. It's just a little bit of familiarity.
Familiarity with what it feels like, what it talks, and there's some skill development too. I'll be honest with you. There's some skill development to being able to not let your attention be manipulated by your opponent or what people are thinking. I think that's going to be a crash course down the line. People's opinions. It's a topic that comes up in our circles a lot. But yeah, man, it's like, yeah, some skill development. But listen, just first know it and then prioritize it.
When you can keep your attention with your body, it is the number one skill to learn because you're taking conscious control over the life you are, and then you have more conscious control over your life, meaning you can put more energy behind the things that actually matter to you, and you can stop wasting your energy fearing what has happened in the past, fearing what might happen in the future, thinking that you're not good enough, thinking that you're never going to make it, stuck in the same old loops. You can actually crack out of that stuff now. In fact, the only time you can ever crack out of any of those patterns is in the moment you stand in.
You guys really helped like guide the answer for me at least. Like listening to the podcast, listening to what you guys wrote, and then being able to experience it for myself and allowing the answer to come to me for like what is really my zone. And then when like that's when I realized like I used to think that the zone was something that you were just in, but you didn't really know it. But now it's more like you can tap into that whenever you want. And sure, you might go in and out of it. I just used to think that the zone is something that you'd be in for like a really long time, but it's definitely something I can just tap into and then bring my attention back, and that's how I know I'm in my zone.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're becoming conscious. So before you really establish your zone, even when you do experience it, it's not something that you're actively creating. So it's going to feel like something happening to you and not necessarily something that you're bringing about and participating in. But once you do know how to bring your attention back to the present moment, everything changes. As soon as you can consciously create that zone, you actually start to realize you're popping in and out of it more than you think you are. And it's easy to slip out of the moment. In fact, like every meditation teacher I've ever had was always like, half of the meditation is and let's steer the mind back to this moment, and let's come back to where we are right now.
Yeah, man, it's like at the end of the day, like you're playing tennis. Everyone's out here playing tennis, and a lot of you are playing like 20 hours a week plus. I mean, yo, you're playing a game with your body, a rhythmic sport. It's completely inevitable that you're gonna find yourself in a flow state doing that activity that much. And you can't play tennis without a certain level of mind body connection. So people have it at various degrees, but like Andrew said, when adversity hits, it often snaps that. But you have to have a certain level of mind body connection to do an advanced activity like hit a tennis ball. And just the sheer amount of duration that you're doing that activity, flow states are super inevitable. People getting in their zone. I mean, if you look in your entire past, there was a time where you played your best that you've ever played thus far. You know, that's true for everyone. And so that was their zone right there, front and center. And so we're just saying, yo, that can be like you can have a process to get in there very repeatably. And like you could be there all the time. All the time. I know it sounds crazy. I mean, that's why we ask a lot of times this like tricky relative question. What percentage of the time are you in your zone? We always ask that to all the athletes, and it's so funny to hear the answers. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go to a tournament and see that a lot of them, like 90% plus, and that's being generous, have extremely dysregulated nervous systems and are spazzing out on the court with 0% chance of being in their zone. So like underperformance is just completely rampant. And we're just saying that it doesn't have to be that way straight up. Like listen, like we have the knowledge, we have the science, we have the practices, we have the steps. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for people to not figure it out. The only excuse they have is they might not have the knowledge and the practices, but that's why we're here for you too.
What are you guys' thoughts on like being satisfied with where you're at with your zone?
It's going to be really hard to be in your zone if you're not satisfied with where you're at.
I would say satisfaction is your zone.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Because think about what satisfaction is. Isn't satisfaction that everything's okay right now?
And this is the athlete propaganda of like, never be satisfied. Every day, get better. It's called every day perpetuate not being in your zone.
Yeah, this might go over some people's heads, but improvement, the word improvement should be exchanged with the word expansion, and then you can realize you only expand where you stand. You only expand where you stand as you engage your process in the here and now. And an intention to improve, which is to be different than who you are now, is actually resistance against your present self. That intention is like a magnet that's repelling you away from your zone in any direction. As long as we're not here, we just got to be in this, we got to go in that direction called better. Well, what is that direction called better? Well, most people, the direction called better, they're not pointing at the future. They're pointing at the past because they look into the past and they say, look what I did. I got better. So improvement is actually about measuring the past. It has nothing to do with going into a direction where you're able to do things that you weren't able to do before. That happens by a greater occupation of the present moment, a greater occupation and alignment to your zone. That alignment is the requirement that allows you to sustain higher levels of play. And without that alignment, you can't sustain those higher levels of play. And your intention to improve is really just you endlessly tweaking, changing, and fixing and solving yourself. You've turned yourself into a problem when you hold an intention to improve. And I know that's a big one for us athletes because it's so pounded into our head and so built into the system, this idea of improvement.
This is the new paradigm. This is 2.0 sports. I would say probably huge chunk of people in athletics are going to this is going to be weird or they're going to straight up disagree.
Yeah,
But this is
but you can't argue with psychology. Like
you can't argue with a dysregulated nervous system.
and you can't hold an intention to improve and be accepting yourself totally at the same time. You can't. You can't. And I get it. You just got to change the word improve with expand because there's still this expansion. We still want to expand. You know what I'm saying? But
And here's the thing: when you're in the zone, when you're in your moment, when you're accepting with where you're at right now, and you're fully immersed in your process, I'm telling you, expansion beyond the rates that you could even imagine
inevitable.
is inevitable. Isn't inevitable? People think that their people are thinking they're doing the improvement when no, they need to do the be present and be here for your process, and the expansion happens by itself. You know, everyone's just forcing the improvement, and it's almost a form of self-sabotage and endless looping.
Yep.
If you are like satisfied then with your where you're at, um, how do you make sure you don't get like stuck in not wanting to expand your game? Or is that just not going to happen because expansion is inevitable if you are in your zone?
Expansion is inevitable, but it depends on how you define where you're at. So let's accept where we're at. But most people, when they say, okay, I'm gonna accept where I'm at, it's like this thing you gotta do. I gotta accept where I'm at and not want to improve and get to a different place. Let me talk about where you're at. Okay? You're not in a sliver of time between a monumental past and a vast future. That's not where you're at. That's the misconception that you're at this point in this linear timeline. And like all this stuff has happened in the past, and that makes me disbelieve that this future is possible or something like that. That's not where you're at. Where you're at is you're in this moment, in the body that you sit in, you have access to the power of choice. You can literally choose to respond to anything in your life in any way you want. And life is so gracious that it will actually respect your response and it'll give back to you what you're giving. So if I'm saying poor me, I'm here with people think where they're at is like, where am I at? I'm a 9.2. That's where I'm at. No, that's not where you're at. This is where you're at. You're in possession, you're in the location of unlimited potential. You're in possession of a game of tennis that doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. You have access to 100% of your body in this moment that you stand in. There's nothing stopping you from directing 100% of what you have into every single ball you strike. That's the truth about where you're at. If we understood the truth about where we're at, we'd actually be really damn excited to be where we're at. And it's not this like, I gotta be where I'm at and accept where I'm at. It's like, yeah, sorry that you have to accept that you're God and can choose any way forward. We've just surrendered that ability to move any way forward by deciding that the past and the future is more important than this moment where I have possession of a thing called choice. And most people just aren't aware of that. We're not aware of that. So
Your follow-up was like, if you're satisfied, aren't you just gonna like basically like stagnate and like not improve? I dare you to try it and then let me know if you stagnate. Because that's a massive assumption.
yep.
I would love to have a talk with someone after committing a week or two or three or four or five or seven on being in the moment and doing zero other things. I would love to have that conversation about potential stagnation. I'd be so ready for that conversation.
No, for real. And it's actually interesting because that's happened to a few athletes that have implemented some kind of mental performance, and they would say, "Well, I feel a little bit lethargic on the court now. I feel like the energy's dropping a little bit." And
That can happen when you first learn how to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we were addicted to the outcome. The outcome is what was driving us. It was like our fire, our fuel. And so, but that's actually that's not good for our nervous system. We're using stress to try to compete. So when we let go of that way, that outcome orientedness and become process oriented, we can get a temporary experience of being disconnected from our fire or our passion or our ability to assert ourselves. But ultimately, what you're going to do is you're going to find a new source for that. And the source of that is really love. You're loving what you're doing rather than using what you're doing as a means to an end to achieve something. So most people are using their game and their genius as a means to an end to achieve something, when if I love what I'm doing, there's no fear in what I do. Can y'all imagine that? No fear in action, ever. That's the power of love. Love in the sense of I love what I'm doing, so I'm wholeheartedly involved. And I don't have one eye on the outcome, using this moment as a means to an end. I'm gonna get to that really important moment in the future. This moment is always the most important moment because this is the only moment there is. So when you choose to love your game and love yourself and love what you're doing, you become untouchable by fear.
Invincible.
Yeah, invincible, or like you're not vulnerable to fear anymore, because fear exists in your thoughts about the past and the future. And if you love what you're doing in the present, you're wholeheartedly involved with 100% of yourself. I mean, it would be illogical to think that 100% of your game won't find expression. It's illogical if I'm 100% wholeheartedly involved in the action I'm taking right now and not using it as a means to an end, not trying to change the past, not trying to get to the future.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to dive deeper into the topics in this podcast, check out the free crash course below. If you're interested in working with us more closely, fill out the application on mindbodystroke.com. Talk soon. Peace. Love.
Rejoice is a sort of dignified Elizabethan, but it says play. And St. Thomas, aware of this, said that the divine wisdom was above all to be compared with games, because games are played for their own sake, not for any ulterior motive.